Testing. Can you hear me? Test 1, 2, 3. Testing. No. Testing again. Testing. I hear something.
Very low. All right. Again, please.
Testing.
Now.
Big day.
Testing.
my song and then do our last duo. The song and the star.
Thy reign come we once more, from the four winds gathered hither. Let the hallowed walls remind whence we come and how and whither. From their stillness breaking clear, echoes wake to warn our cheer. Higher truth from saint and seer, call to us assembled here. Ours the year's memorial store, honored days and names we reckon, days of comrades gone before, lives that speak and deeds that beckon, from the dreaming of the night to the labors of the day, shines their everlasting light, guiding us upon our way. Though the path be hard and long, still we strive in expectation. Join we now their ageless song, one with them in aspiration, one in name, in honor, one. Guard we well the crown they won, what they dreamed be ours to do. Hope their hopes and seal them true.
Good afternoon. It might be raining outside, but this is a very joyous day. Welcome to South Church. I'm Tanna Clews, and I have the honor of serving as the chair of the Board of Trustees here at South Church. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so pleased to see the pews full and to have so many members of our congregation here and members of the larger Seacoast community. I want to especially welcome a few people, including Mayor Deaglan McEachern, Joe Sullivan from the New England region of the UUA, our dear Reverend Susan Sikuski Brown, AKA our interim minister who helped our staff get us through COVID, and so many visiting ministers and directors of religious education. I did consider reading all of your names, but I only have 2 minutes. And also a very special welcome to the families of Reverend Quaadgras and Kirsten Hunter. Ellen is joined by her mother, her siblings, and her nieces. And Kirsten is joined by her parents, her siblings, her partner, her sons, and her nieces and nephews. So thank you for being here. This is such a joyous day for our community as we install our minister, Reverend Quaadgras, and our director of Lifespan Ministries, Kirsten Hunter. This day has been a long time coming, and it would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of many volunteers, particularly our collaborative governance and search committees, as well as our board of trustees and the countless others who work diligently and faithfully to develop a leadership model that best fit our congregation and was reflective of our values of equity and inclusion. I am so proud of our church. South Church governance has always relied on collaboration among our staff, trustees, associate groups, and volunteers. However, this collaborative governance model goes beyond that basic expectation. It is a formal leadership model that emphasizes sharing skills and responsibilities to ease the heavy workload of ministry, valuing the gifts and knowledge of all church staff and volunteers, having clarity about roles and decision-making, having transparency, accountability, and oversight, and having continuity through transitions and flexibility to respond to future conditions and challenges. Collaborative governance reflects our congregation's commitment to anti-oppression as a non-patriarchal leadership model that provides greater accountability throughout the system. Collaborative governance fosters mutual learning and shared experiences. I am so proud to be a member of South Church and so honored to be able to lead our board during this exciting and historic moment in our church's history. I've said often that somehow I rolled the dice and am here right now, but I did not do all of the work. Our former board chairs and former board did so much. And what I want to say to all of you who are members of South Church is thank you for being brave. Thank you for stepping outside of the lanes and going beyond what has always been done in the past and stepping into something new and different that we all believe fits us for our future. So thank you for being brave. We have so much to look forward to, and I want to again thank all of you for joining us. And to our members of the congregation, thank you for trusting the process. And for those of you who are hearing about this for the very first time, thanks for coming. I hope you learned something. Again, welcome to our installation ceremony, and thank you for being here to celebrate.
Thank you, Tanna. It's tough when you pronounce my name correctly because it takes away a laugh line that I have at the beginning. But greetings, friends and members of the South Church. My name is Deaglan McEachern, and as mayor of Portsmouth, I am grateful for the invitation to be here today as a guest of your congregation for this momentous occasion. With less than 25 installations in your entire 400-year history, I recognize the significance of this event. I believe the South Church epitomizes Portsmouth's motto of the City of the Open Door, which signifies that we are always welcoming to new ideas and to new people. This ethos speaks to the values of inclusivity and openness that are at the core of your congregation and that are reflected in your new model of collaborative governance. This installation also represents an affirmation of South Church's commitment to fostering collaboration in ways that promote justice, equity, and anti-oppression. It is my sincere hope that this event inspires not only your members, but the wider community as well. South Church has been an integral part of Portsmouth's history, and we recognize that our religious community is intertwined with the fabric of this city. Let us celebrate this momentous occasion and recognize the work that must occur to keep the doors of this great institution open to all. Let's continue to work together towards building a more just and equitable society where new ideas and people always have a home. Thank you very much.
Members and friends of South Church, I am Joe Sullivan. I am one of your New England Region UUA field staff consultants. And my greetings today are centered on two words: covenant and gratitude. Our practice of covenant as Unitarian Universalist is multidimensional and layered. So this service consecrates a very special and sacred covenant of shared ministry between Reverend Ellen and Kirsten, as well as between you, the congregation, and your leadership team. I come here representing the covenant at the heart of our Unitarian Universalist Association, the promise of mutuality among sister congregations, the moral investment congregations make in the success of one another's ministries. So on behalf of your sister congregations of New England, on behalf of the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, our UUA president, and on behalf of all UUA staff, I bring heartfelt greetings. Secondly, I bring deep gratitude from me and from my New England region staff colleagues for this uniquely creative team and collaborative practice that you are installing today. These past few years, when congregational life across the religious landscape has been acutely challenged, this congregation has, in your actions, leaned on creativity and faithful experiment rather than fear and retrenchment. My colleagues and I stand in deep admiration and sincere appreciation for your acts of profound faith. Thank you and congratulations.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do? Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do? Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do?
I'm Rob Stevens. I'm from St. John's Episcopal Church, just over there. And I am the representative of the Seacoast Ministerium. Sometimes I tease and say we're the hysterium, where it's just like we're crazy. And there is definitely times when churches and houses of worship don't play well together. And we kind of get so busy in our own lives that we forget that we're all on the same team. And today is such a tribute to that as we celebrate Ellen and Kirsten, as they are going to be bearers of light and leaders in this community, and that they will remind us all that we are all on the same team, and our job is to spread the love wherever we can. I am so honored to be here today representing that team. Let us pray. Loving God, God of all, we celebrate this day. We thank you for Ellen and Kirsten and them saying yes. Help us all to say yes to your love. Remind us that we are all bearers of light, and we are to build one another up, to care for one another, indeed to love. Let this day be a moment in time of celebration, but also a catalyst of partnership and care, so that this isn't just about a moment in time, but about a movement of love. We ask this in your ever-present love. Amen.
You guys, look at all these people, right? My name is Charlie Murdach, and I have had the pleasure of having served on the Pocket Garden Tour Committee, the Security Task Force, as a worship associate, as a mentor with coming of age, and helped with RE and senior youth on occasion, and maybe perhaps baked for social hour with the family. I'm here as a boundary spanner for the Collaborative Governance Task Force and the Ministerial Search Committee. A boundary spanner is one who serves on two committees with the responsibility of informing both groups of important information and activities, thus increasing overall transparency within the system. The Collaborative Governance Task Force has spent the past few years forging a unique and powerful path within our community to reshape why and how our church is governed and led forward. Today, I'm coming off the bench as a representative of our Ministerial Search Committee in the important dual selection process where we chose her and she chose us. Thank goodness she chose us. So today, we get to close that loop and embrace and install Reverend Ellen. We also celebrate and recognize and install and begin anew a path for Kirsten Hunter as the Director of Lifespan Ministries for our congregation. She has provided unwavering care and leadership through difficult waters of ministerial transition and a little bump in the road called a pandemic. She made sure, at great cost, that we did not flounder, but flourish. As Tanna said, today is a long time coming. I've been lucky to have a front row seat to so many moments that have led us to today, this momentous day. Dr. Paula Cole-Jones is a Unitarian Universalist leader who has a vision of our faith built on the idea that we are a community of communities. Already today, we've welcomed many guests representing different parts of the larger community that holds South Church. But before we light the chalice this morning, I'd like to call forward a few more people. Building a community of communities, says Dr. Jones, is about honoring and releasing the power of we. It is my honor to name and lift up that potential by celebrating these beloved communities within our congregation. Each one of these groups represents a distinct but connected ministry in which we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. As I name your group, representatives are invited to come forward to these stairs Bring your flowers to the vases on the chalice table, and please remain behind the chalice for the lighting and the mission statement after your group has been called. These are the communities within our community: Aging with Grace, Annual Budget Committee, Book Group, Committee on Ministry, Church Staff Team, Community Action Team, South Church Covenant Groups, the Endowment Committee, Fellowship Associates, Worship Greeters, the Kitchen Ministry Team, the Learning Associates, Men's Breakfast Group, the Nominating Committee, Pastoral Associates, Planning and Implementation Committee, the Property Committee, Senior Youth, Shared Ministry, Social Justice Associates, South Church Pride, the Ushers, Volunteer Tech Team, Women's Breakfast, the Worship Associates, Young Church Community, Vespers Community, South Church Folk Group, and the Ministerial Search Committee. Look at all these people. Holy smokes. The chalice is a symbol of our living tradition, and today we light this flame in celebration of a new chapter in a long story. May this dancing flame help us remember this moment of hope as we each imagine the power of our shared ministry with one another. Let this light warm our hearts with the love that will carry us forward together. Been a long time, Alice. Long time coming. Please stand if you're able and join me in the mission statement of South Church. It's printed in your order of service on the second page. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. If you'd stay standing for hymn number 131 in the gray hymnal.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road
My name is Reverend Rebecca Bryan, and I am the minister of the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And it is my delight and honor to be here celebrating this shared leadership and ministry. And I bring our greetings from your fellow congregations in Massachusetts. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Continue to grow and evolve." As we've been hearing, South Church has been growing and evolving since its inception. In 1713, through its identity at first with Unitarianism, in 1819, merging with the Universalist Church in 1947, and of course committing to Unitarian Universalism in 1961. South Church has a history of blending traditional and new approaches to ministry and to church. Today marks another milestone in the history of this congregation as we bear witness to and bless the installation of Reverend Ellen and Kirsten into this shared ministry, a congregation full of promise and hope. This is a shared ministry rooted in history with this church and our liberal religious faith, and committed to the fullness of what it means to be together and to the best expression of where love will guide us and you as you learn together through this next chapter of South Church's life. In keeping with tradition, today's offering will benefit the Living Tradition Fund. The Living Tradition Fund supports the needs of both emerging Unitarian Universalist ministers and seminarians and retired ministers who have devoted their lives and given from the deepest reservoirs of themselves to the calling to serve our faith. As we this afternoon are honoring what has been and what will be, so too do we honor the ministry that is being formed and has faithfully served our faith for generations. Please give generously. The offering will now be gratefully received.
My name is Jen Del Deo, and I have the honor of serving as the Director of Children and Family Ministries in this sweet congregation. The first charge today comes from the people of this congregation who hold the greatest stake in the future. It is composed of input from many South Church children and youth, not limited to, but including these young people who will present it. Their words reflect what it would mean for them, for church to do its best job of serving them through their entire lives. They will ask you to rise to the challenge of creating what they need in this community to be able to take our shared values beyond these walls and into the world over future generations.
This should be a place for everyone to play and have fun, even adults. And there should always be good treats at coffee hour. Also, church is a place to learn to make peace. It starts inside us and can spread it out into the world. This is a place for kindness and fairness for all people.
Church should be familiar and close-knit. We should help people who are struggling, people in our church and people who don't come to our church. Working for equal rights should be a big priority. We want our building to be improved so it will be accessible to everyone. We want people of all abilities and identities to feel like they belong here and are loved.
We want more time where everyone is together, and we want some time with people our own age. We want to be in worship with more than on Christmas Eve and Easter, and we want those worship times to be designed for people of all ages. You're talking about our world, and we need to be part of the conversation. Church should help us to be proud of our religion by giving an understanding of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. This helps us all know why we're here and why it matters.
We value programs like Coming of Age, OWL, and Youth Group for acknowledging the transitions that we're growing into and helping us live into them in healthy ways. We can speak freely here. We can listen to people, and as well as be listened to and heard. People can safely share individual ideas because we have certain values in common. We need to feel free to be our whole selves. There aren't many places where we can really do this. Sometimes we need to try on different identities to discover ourselves, and we need to be loved and celebrated for all of who we are.
Unstructured time together is important in places where it's easy to connect and bond. Sometimes people being together without an agenda is more productive than any class or worship time we could be in. We want live music and many different kinds of music. Church should blur the lines between us and them. We should learn about other cultures as well as other faith communities to meet more people and widen our circle, to take trips near and far and learn about communities and issues in relatable ways.
Give us opportunities to take action on our shared values. We need to practice this here so we can build the muscles to do it outside of this community too. Give us the skills to make change while also helping us thrive in the world the way it is now. We want the world to be safe and whole for us, but the reality is there's too much that needs fixing. We need to know how to navigate the worst of what there is to face sometimes. It's really special that there is a place where we can know people over a long, long time. Even when we venture out into the larger world and then come back, our people are still here. We need you to inspire us and push us forward, and we will do the same for you. It is now in your hands to rise to this challenge.
My name is Tricia Hart, and it is such an honor and a delight to be here, to be in this church, to be with all of you, to be here celebrating this extraordinary new model of leadership. It's wonderful for me to do this. I bring greetings from the people of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, Vermont. Woo-hoo. And it's a delight because separately, Ellen and I have known each other. We have both served congregations in the wonderful state of Rhode Island. Can I hear any Rhode Island cheers? Woo! Okay. And Kirsten and I have cooked up some interesting plans and schemes, some of which have actually come true. So it is a wonderful thing and a treat for me to be here. So I have a question for all of you. When did your ministry begin? I mean this for all of us. It's the question that gets often asked, sometimes asked of ministers. It is very frequently and repetitively asked of seminarians. But it's really a question for all of us. And when I think about me, when I think about my formation as a minister, which I understand to be serving by paying attention, not just to what needs to happen, but what is happening. That formation began long before I was hired by any congregation and before I enrolled in seminary. It began for me with experiencing church and learning as a person in the pew what worship is. As a choir member, learning what music has to do with absolutely everything. As a parent, learning how belonging to a congregation shapes a child's awareness of who they are and who we can be as a community. As a person on a committee, learning how democracy and covenant can conflict and how they can support each other. As a board member, I learned everything from the difference between mission and vision. I'll tell you that later if you want to ask. How to read financial statements. I learned that on a board. I learned how to talk about budgets, how to talk about stewardship. As a person who was also a congregant, I learned how there's almost nothing more painful than being in a congregation that is navigating or getting stuck in conflict. And I'm guessing most of you have learned many of these things too. And I imagine that many of you, like me, whether you're now ministers or professional staff or a church member, I'm wondering if you too woke up one day long ago or last week and discovered that your congregation, your church had moved to the center of your life. And maybe some of you wondered, as I did once in the middle of a conference on the coast of Maine, I wondered, what if every day in my life could be like this? It is a gift to belong within a particular community for the whole of our lives. I love the fact that the children have reminded us it's not just us as adults, it's everybody. It is a gift and it is also a burden because as a person who belongs to a congregation, you carry the responsibility of being in covenant with a bunch of other people that you did not choose. My favorite definition many years ago from John Buren's of the idea of what is covenant, he posed it as a question. He said, covenant means, what are we willing to promise one another and in what hope? There was other work that I could have done in my life other than ministry, and some of it I have, but none of it seemed as big, as potentially good, as transformative as helping to lead congregations, which I've been doing for 27 years. As it happened, not my plan, my work has been almost entirely in transitional ministry, so I have served 9 congregations, 9 Unitarian Universalist congregations with different names. Some of them were churches. Some of them were absolutely not churches. They were congregations or parish or like our neighbors in Burlington, a society. It's actually 10 if I include the congregation that launched me from Maine. I've served small churches and mid-sized churches and large churches. I've served very new churches and very old ones. I've served healthy, which means more or less happy and more or less functional, and not healthy congregations. And all of those congregations have lived amid challenges, which are frustrating often, and amazing, and beautiful, and sometimes terrifying. Our ministries, all of us, can be tedious, but they are almost never boring. So after a couple of decades of doing this, I thought, I was pretty sure actually, that I had it down. Nothing surprises me, I said to congregations I was interviewing with. It was just about 8 years ago that I realized that I did not have it down, that is. Life and our history unfolding in our country, in the world, was surprising me a lot. And all of a sudden, there was a lot more for me to learn. It was early in 2015, 6 months after 18-year-old Michael Brown was killed by police in Ferguson, Missouri. 3 months later, Tamir Rice, who was 12, was killed by police in Cleveland. A couple of years earlier, in 2012, of course, Trayvon Martin, who was 17, was killed, and Black Lives Matter as an idea, as a movement, was born. But in 2012, I was busy. I was struggling in a church that was careening toward crisis. So we grieved Trayvon Martin's death as we had celebrated the election of the first African-American president. Shortly before that, we noted it, we mourned it, we celebrated, and then we went on pretty much as we had been before. But 2015 was different. Nothing felt like it had before to me. I was in Charleston, West Virginia, and I was just there for 2 years. And when I preached one Sunday on Michael Brown's death, the congregation, almost in the middle of the service, rose up and said, "We need to do something." I was just the interim. I was trying to keep track of my job in that moment, in that place. But fortunately, surprises were coming. The congregation said, "Now," and the wise board said, "Let's learn the story of racism in this city first." A story which is not new, but new to us. So we did. We heard how a thriving Black neighborhood had been raised in that city to make room for the highways. The people dispersed, the white neighbors feeling safe. We talked with the pastor of the Black Baptist Church, which was right across the street, as close, but a congregation that UU congregation had not connected with. We met the Syrian community in that city of Charleston. There were quite a few of them who were pleading, who were organizing to bring their country people who were stuck in the horrible Civil War to West Virginia as refugees. So the UUs joined forces with the mosque and both synagogues in the city, and we learned together. The chief of police came to one of the workshops at our congregation. After 4 months of learning and talking, that congregation did put up Charleston's first Black Lives Matter banner. And the congregation did not go back to the ways they had always done things, to my surprise. I was the interim minister in Cleveland in 2016. I was serving a church just a few miles away from where Tamir Rice's life had been stolen. The congregation had noticed and mourned when that happened, but mostly gone on as they had before. But in 2016, you'll remember, there was an election. Surprises started happening all around. People showed up at that church. New people showed up, confused and hopeful and wanting to believe that maybe this congregation could explain what was happening and what they might do. 45 new members joined that congregation in 6 months. I was just the interim, trying to keep track of my job in that place, in that moment. But fortunately, the congregation surprised me and helped me, and so did a colleague, the Reverend Chris Long, who had recently just returned to Cleveland and showed up on my first Sunday. I did not know Chris, but he and I became each other's mentors in the often troubled world of black and white UU ministers working together. We didn't know what our collaboration might be, but we made a commitment to meet every week while we figured it out. I was surprised every week by the gifts that Chris so generously shared with that church. I was surprised every week by all I did not know and what I could still learn. I was surprised by that church's board's understanding that they needed to hire Chris as their justice minister and not just go on depending on him being a volunteer. Their actions, that board and that congregation, in line with their values, changed that congregation in lasting and surprising ways. In 2019, I went to Burlington as the developmental minister. I was back in New England. I was serving the oldest religious society in that city in their historic meeting house, right in the center of everything. What a great place to end my full-time career as a minister. It would be familiar and it would probably be fun. And then the pandemic arrived, as it has for all of us. I was just the transitional minister. I was trying to keep track of what my work was in that time, in that place when nothing was familiar. Fortunately, that congregation taught me and kept on surprising all of us. The goal, right from the beginning, was not just to survive and get out the other side of the pandemic, but to relearn who and what they are in that place. That congregation identified completely with their meeting house. Maybe South Church does too, but in Burlington, the meeting house at the top of Church Street it's the most photographed building in the state of Vermont. It is the place everybody knows. It was the place the congregation understood was theirs, and for almost 2 years, it was the one place they could not be together. Zoom, of course, happened and was wonderful, and people wouldn't give it up now even if they could, but the thing the congregation did, to all of our surprises, is they moved outside. There is space around that historic meeting house, so we figured out how to do the usual things and new variations on other things: children's programs, family events, coffee hour, all outside. I had a new member tell me on a cold December day when we were enjoying coffee hour outside, he said, "I never want to go in, by the way." I said, "It's going to get cold," he said, "so we'll put on coats." It was amazing. We did the winter solstice outside in the dark. I don't think that will ever change. We did Sunday worship in the summer and the fall outside, where the tourists and the neighbors stop by. We can blow bubbles outside. We can eat donuts. We can drink cider. We can sing. We can listen to jazz. We can welcome strangers, some of them unhoused. You may have heard that Vermont now has the distinction of being the state with the second highest per capita rate of unhoused people, just after California. So worship is happening inside the meeting house again now, but the congregation had learned, being outside, how many people right there were hungry and alone and without homes, using and abusing substances right on our beautiful grounds. So the congregation organized weekly cleanups to help the staff pick up syringes and trash, and they decided to start a program which began last fall that we now call Sunday Morning Breakfast outside, for anyone who is hungry, for anybody who's lonely. Food, friendship, clothes, boots, rain gear given out. And when some of those neighbors who were coming by for breakfast came inside the meeting house to stay for coffee or to stay for the service, the Sunday morning breakfast crew, modeling for the rest of us, made sure that they were welcome and that they were never alone in that unfamiliar inside space, and to make sure the congregation felt safe too. I tell you these stories not because they are even the most extraordinary surprises that have happened, but because they are among the many surprises that our congregations and that all of us in our ministries are discovering and embracing and experimenting with to find new ways to do what we understand to be our religious practice together. And we do not know at the beginning of those experiments how it's going to work out. I'm going to look right at Ellen and Kirsten and say, sometimes you don't even have a plan. Probably best not to tell them, but sometimes we don't even have a plan, and we stay in it. The phrase, I guess Paula Cole-Jones maybe is the one who said that what we're doing is honoring and releasing the power of we. Did I hear that? That's what we're doing. That's what these surprises, for me, are all about. And we are definitely, thank you, children, blurring the lines between us and them. It is absolutely terrifying to be doing ministry right now. And it is absolutely extraordinary. And our ancestors, who we honor and appreciate, they didn't even know how to hope what we're hoping for. They didn't know how to dream what is now possible. And that it is our gift to help bring and make real in the world. What a surprise. What a gift. Let us sing. I would invite you all to rise in spirit, in body, if you are able, and sing number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
Clear.
Now is the time we've all been waiting for. Before I begin, I realized I forgot to thank one group of people, and that is the committee that has been responsible for planning the installation ceremony. So maybe without clapping, but hands in the air, we can thank them. Central to the Unitarian Universalist. Central to the Unitarian Universalist. Third time's a charm. Central to the Unitarian Universalist tradition of democratic congregational polity is the right of the congregation and its ministerial leaders to choose one another. Today, we gather with joy to celebrate the installation of Reverend Ellen Quaadgras and Kirsten Hunter, whom we have freely chosen and who have freely chosen us. Today, we install them as our minister and as our director of Lifespan Ministries. Our covenant of right relations here at South Church says building community is an ongoing spiritual practice, inviting the spirit of love and gratitude into our interactions. We each work to develop skills and promote practices that strengthen the bonds of relationships. We aspire to co-create a spiritual community of people with open hearts and open minds. Ellen and Kirsten, we are so excited to be building community with each of you. In formal recognition of calling our Reverend Ellen and Kirsten Hunter, I invite our congregation to rise in body or in spirit as we read the words in your order of service. I think it's on the third page. We pledge to journey with you in the shared ministry of this congregation. We offer you a free pulpit, the cooperation of our hearts and hands, and our love as you take up your ministry together in partnership with us.
My pledge, can you hear me? My pledge, I will strive to follow the guidance of Spirit authentically rather than perfectly, to be willing to be visible in shortfalls as well as successes. To every one of you, and also to you, Kirsten, I will strive to learn alongside you, to grow together with you, to take risks, learn from mistakes, and bring humor and humility. I pledge to pay particular attention to the marginalized among us, as their voices are too often lost, but central to the healing of our world and our society. And I pledge to honor each of you, to cherish you, and to cultivate the spirit of love and play between us and among us in all the ways that Spirit shows me how.
And I pledge myself with joy and a deep, deep sense of responsibility as we begin this new chapter together. I offer the promise of honesty and a commitment to patience and love and partnership to this congregation, and also, Ellen, to you. We've been saying for a while, this is kind of like getting married. And it's sort of an arranged marriage, which is weird. My call to service is rooted in a vision of collective liberation that recognizes the need for repair and healing in this world. And I thank you all for your company in that service. Growing within our own hearts, growing together in community with one another, and growing in service of the world beyond these walls.
This might be an arranged marriage after I say the following. By the power vested in me, By the power vested in me as the president of the Board of Trustees and in unity and community with our full congregation, I now have the pleasure of installing you as our new co-ministry team at South Church. Together, may we flourish, and you all may clap this time.
I was going to say, before you sit back down, we have been asked to present these gifts from the congregation. If you can start opening them now. Yep, go ahead. So first, because we all know there is a certain coronation coming up next week, no, it's not the Rock of Destiny. And to remind you to keep a good sense of humor as you are crowned our leaders. Please accept these gifts and wield them with both lots of pride and humility.
We also present to you these, you can open them. These infinity scarves. As you wear them, let them serve as a symbol of our journey together into the future. And remember that the possibilities of what we can create together are infinite.
Since my house burned down, I have a much better view of the mountains and the moon rising above. We gathered downstairs, the ministers did, in the robing room and got ready to process into this beautiful sanctuary, and we were being given very specific directions about where to sit. And there was all of this noise coming from the sanctuary. That was you guys. Couldn't keep quiet. Now, I spent many years in Pittsburgh, and I came across a photo exhibit of the civil rights movement as it happened in Pittsburgh. There were photos by a man named Teenie Harris. They used to call him One Shot Harris because he would take one shot. He would always get the best pictures
There was a picture that I remember very well of protesters who had gathered together uniquely to protest for freedom, for civil rights in the 1960s. And at that protest, they came dressed to the nines, but they got to witness themselves and one another for the first time as a body, as a community. We are becoming aware of ourselves and one another as a people. Many years ago, Martin Luther King said, "We are the people that will get to the promised land." Do you remember that? Only he didn't say that. For many years, I thought that he did, but he did not. He said, "We, as a people, will get to the promised land." We are becoming aware of ourselves and one another as a people. By way of genuine prayer and the genuine prayer of laughter, we are coming to know one another. Laughter is one of the beautiful ways that we recognize our spirits as conjoined. We recognize this when we laugh, when we sing, and when we bestow affirmation on our leaders, as you have just done, you members of South Church Unitarian Universalist. That was my favorite part of this service. I want to teach you one line of a song. Is that okay? The words are "raising hands to hold a gentle breeze," okay? And it sounds like this. Raising hands to hold. Would you try that? Raising hands to hold. The second line is raising hands to hold. Raising hands to hold. Raising hands to hold a gentle breeze. Raising hands to hold a gentle breeze. And we'll have to sing that as if we're singing to a child sleeping in our arms. And I'll give you a cue. The genuine prayer of laughter. Our laughter is formed in conflict. Kirsten, I've known for 35 or 40 years, long time. I am from a humanist congregation, and I was sitting on the porch of Star Island one evening, having just delivered perhaps my most theological service in that chapel, and Kirsten was sitting next to me, and the members of the conference were gathered around, protecting their minister of the week from the fierceness. And she was quiet at first and well-behaved. And then she turned with me with what in New Jersey we call colorful language, and asked me with passion why I had become so suddenly theological. We were protected by the members of the conference. I was protected from her. What was not legible to them was the depth of our friendship and the depth of our honesty. And there is nothing that honors me more deeply than my friendship with you. There's nothing that honors that friendship more than the truth, the genuine interaction of who we are. Cool ferocity is how I would describe Ellen. I don't know Ellen as well, but the Ellen that I met many years ago is the exact same person that I see now before me today. You have never faltered, and I appreciate that as we have faced the challenges of ministry and as we sing into the hope of beautiful tomorrows. And just to keep that real, the first shared song that I shared with you, Ellen, was not rank by rank, which we use to process into this sanctuary. It was not Spirit of Life that animates many of our congregations. It was Bad, Bad Leroy Brown. Genuine prayer of laughter. We made a warm bed out of blankets in a meadow way up high. And we were longing to rest in the moonlight and to sleep beneath the sky. Your touch was a warm summer ocean, and your kiss made the whole mountain fly. We clear a space in the world, and we clear a space within us. We clear a space on the sides of mountains, at the edges of oceans, in sanctuaries, and in our souls. We clear a space, and we rest within it, dreaming of what may come, hoping for what might last, growing into new possibilities as we move forward together in life. And deep within this soul here, within this sanctuary, within the swelling of the ocean, high upon this mountain, high upon this altar, we do place an offering, and we gather friends and loved ones to our side to witness the cathedral of our presence happening and to sanctify this moment in our lives. As if raising hands to hold, raising hands to hold, raising hands to hold a gentle breeze. My prayer to you is this: love deeply, love bravely, and love well. Forgive deeply, forgive bravely, and forgive well. Live deeply, live honestly, and live well. Trust yourselves, trust one another, trust this congregation, trust the genuine prayer of laughter.
Amen and amen. It is a joy to be here, and my ministry has been rich with joy recently because one of the things that I get to do in my work with the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association is work with the ministers who are celebrating the 50th anniversary of their ordinations. So I just met the other day with 5 ministers who were ordained in 1973. And we asked them, what has sustained you all these 50 years? And every single one of them talked about the sustaining, transforming power of relationship. In talking with each of you, Kirsten and Ellen, it's clear that relationship is at the heart of your leadership too. You told me to talk into this, but I can't because I have to look at you. At least for a moment. You're committed to making your relationship a living classroom in which you're always learning and growing. And you know that as fallible and imperfect human beings, as we all are, that you're sometimes going to miss the mark. The commitment you have made to one another is to be in covenant, to be willing to be accountable when you miss the mark, to work toward repair when you need to, and to begin again in love. This takes courage, honesty, openness, and vulnerability. You are taking these risks, and you told me that you're doing it at the speed of trust. That language, the speed of trust, comes from Adrienne Marie Brown. Maybe someone before her, but it's in Adrienne Marie Brown's book, Emergent Strategy. And in that work, Brown also writes about the power of fractals as an organizing principle for leaders. So to put it super simply, fractals are never-ending patterns. They are an important concept in mathematics. Don't ask me to explain it, I can't. But what I can tell you is that fractals are all around us in nature, everywhere. So you can think about the fractal foundation, help me find this language. So you can think about the branching patterns in firing neurons and in your lungs and in the trees and in lightning when it strikes and even in branching networks of rivers. And there are lots of these repeating patterns in the natural world. Brown has applied lessons from studying fractals to her own life and leadership. What we practice at the small scale, she says, sets the patterns for the whole entire system. What we practice at the small scale sets the patterns for the whole entire system. And you both told me that this fractal wisdom resonates with you. Therefore, I charge you to tend to the web of your relationships. Your first obligation is to your most intimate relationships, with your beloveds, so many of whom are here today, with yourselves, and with the holy. The flourishing of your ministries depends on keeping enough boundaries around your ministries to attend to your flourishing as whole people. From this place of abundance in your own lives, you will have much to bring to your relationship with one another as leaders. The wisdom of fractals is that patterns repeat. By cultivating spiritual maturity in your own lives, you can bring the power of that practice to your relationship as leaders with each other, to your relationship with the wonderful staff of this congregation. And the thing about the repeating patterns is that it's going to keep flowing. And so the staff will practice with the members and friends of this congregation. And the power and promise of our faith is that what we learn in our congregations doesn't stay in our congregations. So what all you practice here, you already told us this, the kids already know, what you practice here, you bring out into the world. That's the job. You both know from your experience that religious leadership is so challenging, very challenging work, and it requires so much because your primary instrument is your life. Religious leadership isn't just about theological ideas or faith formation practices or strategies of leadership development. Religious leadership is about life and death and everything in between. So even more than good ideas and skillful practices, religious leadership is about love. And so I charge you to make love the center. Make love the center of your practice with each other. When your work is rewarding, celebrate. And when it is disappointing, be present for each other. When you can't find a way, pray together. Hold hope and risk together in the name of love and in the service of your shared calling. Remember that it's a blessing to get to do this work. And may the blessings of your collaborative leadership flow out and out and out like fractals of love in action for many years to come.
Good afternoon, you friends of South Church and colleagues from near and far gathered here on this kind of rainy, gray afternoon. You bring so much joy into this afternoon, so much joy in this space, so much lightness. And I love looking out and seeing your smiling faces. I've been looking up this way the whole time, so it's great to get to see you. My name is Megan Henry, and I bring greetings from our congregation in Brooklyn, New York, where I serve as the Director of Education and Family Ministry. I've been coming here to Portsmouth for years now because I come here to get on a boat and go out to Star Island. And I am so pleased to be able to be in this space at this time of year because it's different this time of year. I am here to present the charge to the congregation. And you, dear ones, you are doing something really special here. Can I see some nods? Yeah. I know we've been telling you this, and I think you feel it, but I want to see that you feel it because it really is special. Not just what you're doing today with the ceremonial installation of these two amazing religious professionals, but you are also joining a small and growing number of congregations within our association who are moving from a model of the minister as the CEO to a collaborative governance model. Many of you have been involved in the multiple years-long process of envisioning and creating this new governance model that values shared ministerial leadership. Can I just see some hands? Like, who's been on this journey? Like, you've been hearing about this for a while? Yeah, okay, great. I see lots of hands out there, yeah. So you understand the need to allocate ministerial and administrative responsibilities based on the skills and the talents of your chosen leadership team, Kirsten and Reverend Allen. You, congregation, you value the gifts and knowledge of religious professionals, whether or not they are ordained. This is my charge to you. One of the things I wanted to say after listening to everything here was just do all of these things that you've been saying. This is so amazing. Like, all of it has been said. So yes, my charge to you is do all of this. Live into your covenant. I read your covenant on your website. Listen attentively, like really listen actively to one another and to your leadership. Speak with care. Communicate lovingly and directly. Remember that compromising and collaboration in faith community is not giving in or failing. Rather, these are ways of honoring differences and valuing diversity within your community. Remember that it is okay to make mistakes. This is how we learn. You will make mistakes. Your leaders will make mistakes. Apologize, learn and grow, forgive and move on. Remember that everything that happens in this community isn't supposed to be just for you. Like, every worship service the music isn't gonna be just right for you. There's gonna be a song you might not like. You might not like what the lady who's giving the charge to the congregation says. But each one of those little moments, those are not what matters the most, right? What matters the most is your love for one another, your being together in this community, your commitment to one another. And I charge you that on those times when you are dissatisfied with something that has happened in this faith community, my charge to you is to be happy about it. Because it means that this community isn't just for you, it's for all of you. And sometimes that means it's not gonna be the perfect thing just for you. But somebody else is so happy right then. Feel their happiness and joy. I also want you to know that we, like the collective Royal Unitarian Universalist, we out there, we're really proud of you. We are cheering for you and your success in this endeavor. And know that we are supporting and loving you along this journey as well. Sometimes it feels like we're so spread out and far away from each other. But remember, I'm just in Brooklyn. I drove up here this morning. You can reach out to me. I can reach out to you. We're here for one another. As you well know, this is not an easy task. This creation of a new way of institutionalizing and living into shared leadership. You have a map. I read it on your website. You've built the boat. You've gathered your crew. You've even been on journeys before. You know what to do, so now you must trust yourselves. You must trust one another, and you must trust Reverend Ellen and Kirsten. Believe in yourselves, this process, and these leaders. Let your decisions and actions be done with love. May you continue bringing this shared ministry to life. And may your lives and your community here at South Church and your wider community that those fractals are going to reach out into, may they be blessed by this courageous, brave move that you are making. May you say yes to love.
Please rise as you're able. Join us in our final hymn, Guide My Feet.
Jealous, I know.
Today is not the beginning of a story. This moment contains within it a history that stretches back beyond our imagination, and also a future that is still to take shape.
We are rooted in the soil of this earth, orbiting a star, moving through space, a part of a magnificent, interconnected whole.
We are companioned by our ancestors and supported by partners, collaborators, co-conspirators.
Within this community of communities and with beloveds far beyond these walls.
May we commit to the generations still to come.
May we plant the seeds of truth and change for all.
In a hurting world that needs our care.
In an abundant world that can inspire awe.
In this precious, unique moment in time.
May we learn to lead in love. May we circle round
and tend the fires of community.
Together.
Together. Together.
And together.
It is time now.
It is time now.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we shine. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change to life from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we shine. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.